I just want to start off this video by saying my head really hurts. I had a colonoscopy yesterday. I'm tired. I really wanted to film this video mostly because I did my makeup today and I'm not wearing a bra. I was wearing a nightgown before this and just put on a sweatshirt.
God, it's a ton!
Okay, let's put a little bit back.
Don't.
Now that the confessions are out of the way, I'm not exactly sure if I filmed this video before or not. The title of this video is The First Time I Was Ever in a Psych Ward, the Storytime. I say ward really weirdly. I used to say it normally, but I recently started saying it like ward instead of ward. Ward? Ward? Anyways, I was not in a psych ward. It was a behavioral health unit. Most people aren't in actually psych wards. It's not actually usually ever called that. There's a little exposure for you. Okay. It's also not called a mental hospital. A mental hospital is a whole hospital just for mental disorders. So you would be there for your depression and not just because you're suicidal or homicidal. You could also be there for other disorders like schizophrenia or antisocial personality disorder. It really depends. A behavioral health unit is exactly what it sounds like. It is for your behaviors like self-harm, suicide attempts, drug use, hurting other people, anything like that. I do want to put a trigger warning on this video. I will be mentioning the reason why I was in the hospital and other self-harm behaviors. The day I went to the ER was on Thanksgiving of 2015. I was 12 years old, just recently turned 12 as my birthday is in early September. I got to the ER around, I'd say 11 p.m. I was feeling suicidal. I told my mom I was feeling suicidal. I was actually watching the episode of The Fosters where Callie's sister runs in front of a car and tries to kill herself. And I was watching it with my mom and I told her that I was feeling suicidal and the doctor had told her to take me to the hospital if I ever felt suicidal, so we went to the ER. We did not go to the typical hospital that I go to now for my medical issues and my mental health issues because they did not have a behavioral health unit at this time. So I went to another hospital that the doctor had recommended that we go to. When I was in the ER, we ended up getting an evaluation. They will admit you to the hospital if you have a plan to harm yourself or if you have already harmed yourself in a way that was to end your life. This also goes for if you have a plan to harm anyone else, or in some cases, if you have harmed someone else. Of course, there are exceptions for this. I'm not going to go through them because that's not what this video is about. At 3 a.m. in the morning, the next day, the day after Thanksgiving, so Black Friday, I was admitted to the hospital. I had a roommate in the room. It was obviously at night. They put on my band, everything like that, and I was in the behavioral health unit. I fell asleep, I woke up, breakfast the next morning. I'm pretty sure it was like Cheerios and strawberries, I don't know. At this particular hospital, they did give you a menu the day before, and you got to pick out anything you wanted from the hospital cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have changed this since the first time I had been there, and you could not pick out desserts. They had less options and stuff like that just because it was too complicated and people were coming back just for the food. I'm not kidding. I was actually told that by a couple staff members. Anyway, I was 12 and in the specific behavioral health unit that I was in, they split us up into two groups, a teen group and a child group. The child group was 12 and under, and the teen group was 13 to 17. They did put me and my roommate, who was also 12, in the specific teen group just because we were more mature and the other children that were in the child group were much younger, around 7, 8, 9. My roommate and I became really good friends. We even hung out after we left the hospital. Typically in a psychiatric unit or behavioral health unit, they do not allow you to share personal information, and we shared personal information anyways, obviously. Now, one of the reasons is actually what happened with this roommate and I. We actually ended up self-harming together with items in the psychiatric unit in my first hospital stay. And this ended up having me on a staff watch. So I had a staff watching me at all times. I had to sleep in the hallway on a mattress, and I had to have a staff in the bathroom with me watching me go to the bathroom for the next 5 stays that I was in the psychiatric hospital. I do want to say, I might say mental hospital or psychiatric hospital just for short, just because behavioral health unit is a lot to say. But just know that it was a behavioral health unit, not a mental hospital, not a psych ward, not a psychiatric hospital. But that is what I mean. I also want to preface that I was at this particular behavioral health unit 12 times total. The longest time I was there was for 15 days, and the shortest time I was there was for 3 days. I have also been to a psychiatric hospital in Wisconsin that I have talked about on this channel. I was there twice, and I have also been to the hospital that I go to now 4 times. So in total, I have been in a behavioral health unit 18 times, so I do know what I'm talking about. There were not that many people there on my first day just because it was the day after Thanksgiving and a lot of people had left for Thanksgiving to go home to their parents. But then after that, because it's the holidays, there's always a huge rush of people after the holidays. The unit was then full very quickly because, you know, people, sometimes mental health can be harder around relatives. The first time I was in a behavioral health unit, I was there for 5 days. They usually do not discharge people on the weekends. I was already on a psychiatric medication, but they did increase my dose. I'm not sure what medication I was on at the time. It was 6 years ago, but yes, I do know that every time I was in the hospital, they changed it a little or took it away or added something else. One thing that was really hard about being in and out of the hospital so much was actually the medication switches. I have been on so many different psychiatric medications, and I would say about 80% of the ones that I have been on, I was not on for a long enough time to see if they actually worked. If you guys have watched some of my other videos, you would also know that I am currently doing electroconvulsive therapy, which I am doing because psychiatric drugs have not been helpful for me. Now, the ones that I have tried for enough time were not as helpful for me. The ones that I'm on now have been sort of helpful, but really electroconvulsive therapy is what really changed my life and made me a lot better. My parents were allowed to visit from 5 to 7 p.m. and on weekends also from 5 to 7 p.m. but also in the afternoon as well. If you guys have any more questions about my experiences in inpatient and behavioral health units, I would love to share my experiences. Would love to help you guys out. Please comment below if you have video suggestions. I can link my TikTok and my Instagram down below. I do want to say this is just my experience and other people's are different. But if you want me to debunk some myths about psychiatric wards and behavioral health units, I can definitely do that for you. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.